My son sent me a text on a Thursday morning that said he was done with me. 4 minutes after I replied, he was calling me back. Here's what he did not know he just walked away from. My name is Leonard Sutton. I'm 67 years old, a retired accountant, and I raised Philip alone after his mother Beverly passed away 10 years ago. I did not remarry. I did not move. I stayed in the same house on Millbrook Drive where we had lived as a family, kept the same routines, and made sure Philip never felt like he had lost both parents at once. That Thursday morning, I was in the kitchen with my first cup of coffee when the notification came in. I picked up the phone and read it twice. Dad, Nadine and I have decided to distance ourselves from you. Please don't contact us anymore. I set the phone face down on the counter. I looked out the window at the yard Beverly used to tend every spring. I thought about Lily, my 6-year-old granddaughter, who the last time I had seen her had grabbed my hand in the driveway and asked if I could stay for dinner. Nadine had answered for her. We have plans tonight, Leonard. I thought about all of that, then I picked the phone back up, opened my banking app, and typed back. No problem. I will be canceling the automatic payments for your house and car. I will let you know when it is done. He called back in 4 minutes. I did not answer. I let it ring. I want to tell you what led up to that morning, because it did not start with one text. It never starts with one thing. It builds slowly, quietly, and by the time you see it clearly, it has already been going on for years. Philip married Nadine about 5 years ago. I gave her a fair chance. She was sharp, organized, always had a plan for everything. I respected that about her. In the beginning, she was polite to me. Not warm, but polite. I told myself that was fine. Not every daughter-in-law is going to be close with her father-in-law. I was not looking for a new best friend. I just wanted to be part of my son's life. But things shifted. Slowly at first, then in ways I could not ignore. She started making comments at family dinners, not loud ones, not the kind you could push back on easily. Small ones. Leonard, you really don't need to drive all the way over here every week. Philip has a lot going on. Or she would redirect Lily away from me at gatherings, steer her toward the other side of the room like I was someone she had just met. I started to feel like a guest in my son's house. Then I started to feel like an unwelcome one. The moment I remember most clearly happened about a year before the text. I had come by to drop off some paperwork Philip needed, a tax document he had asked me to print out. I let myself in through the side door the way I always had. Nadine did not know I was there. She was in the living room on the phone with someone, laughing, relaxed, the way she never quite was when I was around. I heard her say, he doesn't have anything, just that old house. Philip is going to have to deal with him eventually. I stood in the hallway for a moment. Then I walked quietly back out to my car, sat there for a few minutes, and drove home. I did not say a word to Philip about it. Looking back, that was a mistake. But at the time I told myself it was not worth the conflict. I told myself I would handle it when the time came. I just did not know the time was coming faster than I thought. Here's what Nadine did not know, what Philip had never thought to ask about. Every month for the past 4 years, I had been making 2 automatic payments out of a family account that had my name as the sole owner. Philip had access to view the account balance. He never questioned where the deposits came from. $2,400 a month went to their mortgage servicer. $680 a month went to the auto lender for the SUV Nadine drove. I had set it up quietly after Beverly passed when I could see Philip was trying to build a life, but the numbers were not quite working. I did not want to make it feel like charity. I did not want him to feel like he owed me. I just moved money from one place to another and never said anything about it. That was my way of being a father, quietly, without making it a production. Nadine thought the man she was cutting out of their lives had nothing but an old house. She had no idea I had been the one holding their household together for 4 years, and she had no idea what Beverly had left behind. I wore a small key on a chain around my neck every day after Beverly died. Philip had noticed it once, maybe 3 years after she passed. We were sitting on the back porch and he pointed to it and asked what it was. I told him it was a keepsake from his mother. He nodded and let it go. He never asked again. It was the key to a metal lockbox Beverly had kept in the bottom drawer of her desk. She showed it to me the year before she got sick, when she was still well enough to go through everything carefully. She sat me down at the desk, put the box in front of me and said, "Leonard, don't open this unless you really have to. You'll know when." I trusted her completely. Beverly was the kind of person who thought 10 steps ahead and never needed to explain herself. She had worked as a licensed real estate agent for almost 20 years before her diagnosis, though she never advertised it the way some people do. She had started buying investment properties in the early 2000s when prices in our area were still manageable, always in solid neighborhoods, always with good rental potential. She had done it quietly, the way she did most things, reinvesting the income, letting the portfolio grow, putting everything in my name because she said she wanted me protected no matter what happened. I had trusted her to handle it I had signed what she asked me to sign. I had not looked closely at the details because Beverly was meticulous and I had no reason to question her work. After that text from Philip, after I sent my reply and sat listening to the phone ring and ring, I went into Beverly's study. I still called it that even 10 years later. I sat down at her desk. The room still held the faint smell of the cedar drawer liners she used. I took the key from around my neck and I opened the lockbox for the first time. Inside the lockbox were documents organized in Beverly's handwriting, color-coded tabs, neat labels, dates in the margins. She had divided everything into 3 sections. On top of all of it was a sealed envelope with my name written on the front in her handwriting. I opened the letter first. Leonard, if you're reading this, then something has happened and you need to know the full picture. I'm sorry I did not walk you through all of it while I still could, but I knew you. I knew you would have told me to slow down, that we did not need so much, that things were fine the way they were. You were always the calm one. I was always the one who planned for the storm. Everything is in your name, every account, every property, every investment. I structured it that way on purpose. Philip is our son, and I love him. But I also know that love does not make people wise, and I did not want anyone making decisions about your future without your say. Arthur Hargrove helped me put all of it together. His number is in section C. He has been expecting your call for a long time. Let him help you. You have more than enough to take care of yourself for the rest of your life, and then some. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. I love you. Take care of our son. He has a good heart. Sometimes good hearts just need the right moment to find their way back. Forever yours, Beverly. I read it twice. My hands were steady. I do not know why. Maybe because her voice was so clear in every sentence that it felt like she was still in the room. I set the letter down and opened section A. The first document was the deed to our house on Millbrook Drive. Both our names on the original purchase, mine alone after her passing, paid in full since 2001. I set it aside and kept reading. Section B was the one that took me a long time to get through. Property deed after property deed, each one with Beverly's handwritten notes in the margin. Dates of purchase, purchase prices, current estimated values, tenant notes. She had started buying in 2002 with a small duplex on Garfield Avenue. By 2006, she had 4 properties. By 2011, she had 11. By the time she was diagnosed, she had been quietly building for over a decade. 17 properties in total, every single one currently rented. Everyone managed by a woman named Vivian Beckett at a property management firm Beverly had chosen herself and trusted completely. I moved to section C. Bank accounts, investment portfolios, retirement funds, stock certificates. Beverly had written a short note at the top of this section that said, I know these numbers will surprise you. They surprised me too at first. Then I realized this is just what happens when you're patient and you do not panic. I added everything up the way she had taught me to do carefully, column by column. My total net worth, not including the house I was sitting in, was $12.90. I sat at that desk for a long time without moving. Nadine had told her friend I did not have anything. She had looked at a 67-year-old man in a modest house on Millbrook Drive and seen nothing worth paying attention to. She had convinced my son to cut contact with me based on a picture of me that was almost entirely wrong. I was not angry. Not yet. I was something closer to calm. The kind of calm that comes when something you already suspected turns out to be exactly as bad as you thought. And now you finally have permission to do something about it. I called Arthur Hargrove the next morning at 8 a.m. He answered on the second ring. Mr. Sutton, I have been waiting for this call for a while. Beverly told me it would come someday. I'm very sorry it had to. We met that Monday at his office downtown, 12th floor. The kind of building with marble floors in the lobby and a receptionist who offers you coffee before you sit down. Arthur was around 60, silver hair, steady handshake. He had the manner of someone who had seen a lot of difficult family situations and stopped being surprised by them years ago. He reviewed everything Beverly had put together. He told me the structure she had built was clean and airtight. The properties were in my name. The accounts were in my name. Philip had no legal claim to any of it. Not now, not without my say. Then I told him about the automatic payments. The $2,400 a month to Philip's mortgage. The $680 a month to the auto lender, 4 years of payments from an account that had my name as sole owner. Arthur listened without interrupting. When I finished, he asked one question. Does Philip know the payments were coming from you personally? No, I said. He assumed it was some kind of shared family account. He never looked closely at the source. Arthur nodded. So when you stopped the payments, he had no idea what was actually stopping. That is correct. Good, Arthur said. That gives us a clean picture. You were making voluntary gifts from your own account. You have every right to stop at any time. No obligation, no contract, nothing he can claim. He helped me draft the cancellation notices to both the mortgage servicer and the auto lender, effective at the end of the month. He also gave me a small digital recorder and reminded me that our state allows one-party recording of phone calls. He told me to use it. I drove home that afternoon and waited. The bank notices arrived at Philip's address on a Wednesday. By Thursday morning, he had called me 6 times before 9 a.m. I let the first 5 go to voicemail. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and listened to the phone ring and thought about Beverly's letter, about the 17 property deeds in that lockbox, about Lily asking if I could stay for dinner while her mother answered for her. On the 6th call, I picked up. "Dad, what is going on? The bank is saying the mortgage payment did not come through." "I know," I said. "I canceled it." Silence. The kind that means the person on the other end is trying to figure out what they are actually dealing with. "What do you mean you canceled it?" "That is our account." "It is my account, Philip. It has always been my account. I was the one making the payments." Another silence. Longer this time. "How long?" he finally asked. 4 years. I heard him exhale slowly. Then I heard Nadine's voice somewhere behind him, asking what I had said. He did not answer her. "I did not know," Philip said. "I know you did not." I said, "We are going to talk about that. But not today." I ended the call and pressed stop on the recorder. Over the next 2 weeks, Nadine left 3 voicemails on my phone. I did not return any of them. I listened to each one and sent the recordings to Arthur. The first voicemail was controlled, professional, almost. She said there had been a misunderstanding about the account and she would appreciate a call back to sort things out. Her voice was level. She was still operating on the assumption that this was a mistake, something that could be smoothed over with the right tone. The second one came 3 days later. Less controlled, she said that the mortgage servicer had sent a late notice and that this was causing serious problems. She said she expected me to act like a responsible member of this family. The third voicemail was the one that mattered most. She had not realized I could hear Philip in the background, and she had not realized the voicemail was still recording when she turned to talk to him. She said they could not cover the mortgage on their own right now. She said they needed more time. She said I was doing this on purpose, and that Philip needed to handle me. I sent that one to Arthur with a short note. Third message. "She is starting to show the real picture." He called me back within an hour. "This is exactly what we need. Keep the recorder on for every call going forward." I also drove out that week to meet Vivian Beckett in person. Beverly had trusted her with the entire rental portfolio for years, and I had never once visited her office or introduced myself. I had just been cashing the deposits without paying attention to where they came from. Vivian's office was in a small professional building on the east side of town, neat and organized, the kind of place where everything has a labeled folder. She stood up the moment I walked in and came around her desk to shake my hand. "Mr. Sutton, I recognized your name the moment you called. I have been managing these properties for almost 12 years. Your wife was one of the best clients I have ever worked with. She knew exactly what she wanted, and she never second-guessed good work." She pulled out a binder and set it on the table between us. Every property had its own tab. Lease agreements, maintenance records, payment histories, current tenant profiles. Beverly had insisted on detailed documentation for everything. Vivian said because she believed that a well-documented portfolio was a protected one. We went through each property one by one. The first was a 3-bedroom house on Garfield Avenue, rented to a couple in their 40s who had been there for 6 years, Peru, $1,600 a month. The second was a 2-unit building on Carver Street, both units occupied, combined income of $4,100 a month. By the time we reached the 17th property, a 4-bedroom house on Dunmore Road that had been rented to the same family for 8 years at $3,200 a month, I had stopped trying to keep the numbers in my head and just let Vivian walk me through the summary page at the back. Total monthly gross rental income, $51,300 after property taxes, insurance, maintenance reserves, and Vivian's management fee. The net monthly income came to $43,000. $43,000 a month. Every month, deposited automatically into the account Beverly had set up under my name. Nadine had told her friend I did not have anything. I thanked Vivian and asked her to send the full report to both Norman Whitfield, my CPA, and to Arthur Hargrove. I also asked her to keep our meeting private for the time being. She nodded without asking for an explanation. She had the manner of someone who understood that discretion was part of the job. On the drive home, I thought about how many times over the past few years I had felt small at Philip's dinner table. How many times Nadine had made a comment that landed just wrong enough to sting but not quite obvious enough to challenge. How many times I had told myself to let it go, that it was not worth the argument, that staying quiet was the mature choice. I had confused patience with passivity. Beverly never made that mistake. Gloria called me that evening. She is my sister, 3 years older, and she has always been able to read me over the phone the same way she could read me across a room when we were kids. Leonard, What is going on with Philip? He called Clifford looking for you. He can reach me directly if he wants to talk, I said. That is not an answer, no, I said. It is not. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, you have that voice. What voice? The same one you had in 1987 when that contractor tried to overcharge Beverly on the roof repair, and you did not say a single word about it for 2 weeks and then showed up at his office with a folder. I did not say anything. Leonard, what is in the folder this time? I told her to come over on Saturday morning. I told her I needed someone I trusted to know the full picture before things moved forward. She arrived at 9 a.m. with coffee and did not speak once while I laid everything out on the kitchen table, the letter from Beverly, the property deeds, the financial statements Norman had prepared, the voicemail recordings, the timeline of payments I had been making to Philip's mortgage and car loan for 4 years. When I finished, Gloria sat back in her chair and looked at the ceiling for a long moment. She built all of this, she finally said. It was not a question. Over about 18 years, I said. Quietly, without making a fuss about it, that was Beverly. Yes, I said, that was Beverly. Gloria looked at me. What do you need from me? I'm putting together a family dinner. I need you and Clifford there. I need Donald and Dolores there. I need it to feel like a normal gathering until it is not. And Philip and Nadine, especially Philip and Nadine. Gloria picked up her coffee cup. I will be there. Front row. I sent the invitations the following Monday, printed on plain cardstock, mailed to each family member individually. The note was simple. Family dinner at my home Saturday the 15th at 6 p.m. Important family matters to discuss. Please confirm attendance. Nadine called me within 2 hours of receiving hers. What is this about, Leonard? Family business, I said. I think it is time we all sat down together. If this is about the mortgage situation, that is a private matter between you and Philip. It is about more than the mortgage, I said. I will see you Saturday. I ended the call before she could push further. Then I sat down and wrote out everything I planned to say in order with the documents I would need for each part. I had spent 40 years as an accountant. I knew how to build a presentation that left no room for a different interpretation. Arthur reviewed my outline by phone that evening and told me it was solid. He would arrive at 6:30 after everyone was seated and had settled in. He said the same thing Beverly used to say when she was preparing for something difficult. Let them get comfortable first. Comfortable people stop watching the door. Saturday the 15th was a clear evening, cool enough for a jacket. I had spent most of the day cooking. Nothing elaborate. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, a pie Beverly used to make every time the family came over. The kind of meal that says this is a normal dinner, nothing to worry about. Come in and sit down. Gloria and Clifford arrived first at 5:45. Gloria hugged me at the door and then stepped back and looked at me the way she always did when she was checking whether I was holding up. You ready? She said. Been ready for 2 weeks, I said. Donald and Dolores arrived shortly after. Donald was Beverly's older brother, a straightforward man who had never pretended to like people he did not like. He shook my hand and said quietly, "Whatever you need tonight, Leonard." I nodded and showed them to the living room. 2 of Philip's cousins from Beverly's side, Ray and Curtis, came in together just after 6. They had grown up close to Philip, more like brothers than cousins. They knew something was happening. Everyone I had invited knew something was happening. I had been honest enough in the invitation to make that clear. At 6:10, Philip's car pulled into the driveway. I watched from the front window. Nadine got out first, smoothed her jacket, looked at the house for a moment like she was calculating something. Philip followed. He looked tired. He had looked tired on every call since the bank notices arrived. I opened the door before they could knock. "Glad you both came," I said. Nadine smiled the way she always smiled at me. Polite, careful, showing just enough warmth to be unremarkable. "Of course, Leonard. Thank you for having us." We moved to the dining room. I had set the table for 10. Everyone found their seats. I put Philip and Nadine together on one side, directly across from Gloria and Clifford. I sat at the head of the table. The chair at the other end, the one that had been Beverly's, was left open for Arthur. We ate. The conversation was the kind that happens when people know something is coming, but no one has said it out loud yet. Weather. The cousins asked about Lily. Nadine said she was doing well in school. Donald asked Philip how work was going. Philip gave a short answer and went back to his plate. At 6:32, the doorbell rang. I excused myself and came back with Arthur Hargrove. Dark suit, briefcase, the manner of someone who did not need to announce himself to command attention. "Everyone, this is Arthur Hargrove. He is my attorney. He helped Beverly set up her estate planning years ago, and he has been advising me recently on a few matters. I asked him to join us tonight." Nadine set her fork down. Philip looked at me. "Dad, what is this about?" "It is about the family." I said. It is about some things I should have said out loud a long time ago and did not. I'm saying them now. I waited while Arthur took Beverly's chair at the far end of the table and set his briefcase beside him. Then I reached under my side of the table and brought up the bound document Norman had prepared. I set it in the center of the table where everyone could see it. Philip, I said, you sent me a text 3 weeks ago telling me to stay out of your life. I respected that request. I also, as I told you on the phone, canceled the automatic payments I had been making on your behalf. The table was quiet. What most of you do not know, and what Philip himself did not know until I told him, is that for the past 4 years I had been paying $2,400 a month toward Philip and Nadine's mortgage and $680 a month toward the car loan. Every month from an account in my name alone, $380 a month for 4 years, a total of $147, $840, $40. Ray looked at Philip, was looking at the table. I did not do that to hold something over him. I did it because he was my son, and he was getting started, and I wanted to help without making it feel like charity. I did not tell him because I did not want him to feel indebted. That was my choice, and I stand by it. I paused and let that settle. What I do not stand by is what happened next. Philip, your wife sent me a text in your name telling me to disappear, and in the weeks that followed, her voicemails made it clear that she did not know I was the source of those payments. She thought I was a 67-year-old man living alone in an old house with nothing to his name. I looked at Nadine directly for the first time that evening. Her jaw was set, her hands were flat on the table. Nadine, about a year ago I came to drop off paperwork for Philip. I came in through the side door. You were on the phone and you did not know I was there. I heard you tell whoever you were talking to that I did not have anything and that Philip was going to have to deal with me eventually. The color in her face shifted. I did not say anything that day. I should have. Instead, I went home and I started paying closer attention. I opened the bound document to the first marked page and turned it so the center of the table could see it. This is a financial summary, prepared by Norman Whitfield, my CPA. It covers every account, every asset, and every property currently in my name. I started reading 17 rental properties purchased by Beverly between 2002 and 2014, all currently occupied. Net monthly rental income after all expenses, $43,000. Per year, $516,000. Nadine did not move. Investment accounts at 2 institutions, total current value, $4,190,000 retirement accounts, $1,847,000. Savings and money market accounts, $1,960,000 stock holdings, $1,130,000 real estate holdings. The 17 properties estimated current value, $3,780,000. I looked up from the document. Total net worth as of 2 weeks ago, $12,891,000. Not counting the house we are sitting in, which has been paid off since 2001, the room was completely silent. I watched Philip's face. He had gone still in the way people go still when something they thought they understood turns out to be something else entirely. He looked at the document. He looked at me. Then he looked at Nadine. That was the moment I had been waiting for. Not the numbers, not the silence from the rest of the table. That look. My son finally seeing clearly, Nadine opened her mouth. Then she closed it. For the first time since I had known her, she did not have a next move ready. Arthur set a single document on the table in front of him and folded his hands over it. He did not speak yet. He did not need to. Arthur slid the document across the table toward Philip. This is a promissory note, Arthur said. It acknowledges the $147,840 is Mr. Sutton contributed over 4 years toward your household expenses. It establishes a repayment schedule at 0 interest over 10 years. Monthly payments of $1,230. No penalties, no acceleration clause, no pressure. Philip picked it up and read it slowly. Nadine reached over to look at it. Philip moved it slightly so she could see. You do not have to sign it tonight, I said, but I'm asking you to sign it. Not because I need the money back. I do not. I'm asking because I want us to have an honest relationship going forward. No more invisible accounts, no more assumptions about what I have or do not have. No more decisions made about my life based on a picture of me that is not real. Nadine looked up from the note. Leonard, I want to explain what I said on that phone call. I did not mean it the way it sounded. Nadine, I said. I have 3 voicemails from you recorded on this device. I set the recorder on the table. The third one you left the week after the bank notices arrived. You did not realize it was still recording when you told Philip you could not cover the mortgage on your own and that he needed to handle me. I also have the voicemail from the week before that where you told me I should act like a responsible member of this family. You sent me a text in my son's name telling me to disappear, and in the same month you were relying on my money to keep your house. The room stayed quiet. Dolores looked at her hands. Ray and Curtis exchanged a glance. Gloria was watching Nadine the way you watch someone when you want to see what they do next. Nadine did not say anything else. I'm not here to humiliate anyone, I said. I'm not filing charges. I'm not going to court. What I'm doing is making sure every person in this room understands what actually happened, because this family has been operating on a false picture for a long time, and I'm done letting that continue. I looked at Philip. Your mother built everything I showed you in that document over 18 years. She did it quietly, without asking for recognition, because she wanted to make sure I was protected no matter what happened. She knew someone might come along someday and assume a retired man in a paid-off house had nothing left. She made sure that assumption would cost them. Philip was looking at me steadily now. His eyes were red at the edges. She never told me, he said. She told me, I said, and she trusted me to know when to use it. Philip looked down at the promissory note for a long moment. Then he picked up the pen Arthur had placed beside it and signed his name. He did not look at Nadine before he did it. He slid it back across the table to Arthur. Nobody spoke for a few seconds. Then Gloria said, I think Leonard made Beverly's pie tonight, and the tension in the room shifted just enough for people to breathe again. I got up and brought the pie out from the kitchen. I served every person at the table. Nadine took a slice without being asked. I did not make anything of it. After dinner, after Donald and Dolores had said goodnight and Ray and Curtis had headed out, after Gloria had helped me clear the table and given me a long look on her way to the door that said everything without saying anything, Philip stayed behind. Nadine waited in the car. He stood in the kitchen while I rinsed the dishes and he said, I did not know she had built all of that. I know, I said. I should have asked more questions about a lot of things. Yes, I said. You should have. He was quiet for a moment. Are we going to be okay? I turned off the faucet and dried my hands. That depends on what you do next. Not tonight. Over time, I'm not looking for a big gesture. I'm looking for you to start paying attention. He nodded. He said goodnight and walked out. I stood in the kitchen alone for a while. Then I poured a small glass of wine and took it out to the back porch. Beverly and I used to sit out there in the evenings when the weather was right. There are 2 chairs still positioned the same way we left them years ago. I sat in mine and looked at hers. It worked, I said quietly. Everything you built. It worked exactly the way you planned. 6 months later, Philip and I have coffee every few weeks. It is not the same as before, but it is real in a way it was not before either. He and Nadine are working through things with a counselor. I do not know how that ends. That is their business. Lily came over last Saturday. Just the 2 of us. She helped me water the tomatoes in the backyard and asked if she could come back next week. I told her yes, I still wear the key around my neck. I do not need it anymore, but I keep it there because some things are worth carrying. At 67 years old, the most important thing I have learned is this. The quiet man who never made a fuss, who paid the bills without telling anyone, who let his wife handle the investments and never asked too many questions, that man is not weak. Sometimes that man has been holding everything together the whole time, and the people who assumed otherwise made the most expensive mistake of their lives. If this story found you somewhere far from where I'm sitting, drop your city in the comments. I would like to know how far it traveled. And if any part of this felt familiar, stay to the end of the next one, because the man who never raised his voice is usually the one you never saw coming.